everyone, and welcome again to the Philly Factor. I'm your host, Paul Perello. My guest on this edition of our program is an author who wrote the book, The House That She Built. And I want to say hello to Mollie Elkman, who joins us here on the program. Mollie, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
This is a wonderful book. I actually got a copy of it, and I started going through it. And, you know, a lot of people today are concerned about the workplace. They're concerned about the work environment. And I don't care where you go these days. Everywhere you turn, there is a sign in a window somewhere of some employer looking for people to come to work. They're desperately in need for employees. But while there's this nationwide concern about workforce development, you, on the other hand, in your book, advocate an area of business that we don't often associate with women in the workplace, and that is primarily in the construction trades. So correct me if I'm wrong, that this book is meant to educate, inform us about the need to increase the trades, but more importantly, encourage women to join in what has been primarily a non-traditional area for women employees.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. It is a children's book. So the audience is meant to be exposed to the skills that go into building a home. And the book highlights 18 different careers and the skills behind them. So the bigger mission, of course, is to educate about the trades and to start these conversations at a young age. It is a children's storybook. So the audience is really kindergarten to second grade, maybe a little older because there are some difficult words. But yeah, that is our bigger mission. Workforce development is an issue across the board. But when it comes to a labor shortage, when it comes to housing, it actually is a crisis for the U.S. economy because housing is so important to our overall success as a country that it's a really big problem. And there are a lot of initiatives at the college level and the high school level to teach the trades and get students to think about going into the trades. But I really feel that the conversation has to start at a younger age. And by having the conversation with the early young child when their identity and self-esteem is starting to develop, and even getting the parents to read the story out loud, I think we can shift the conversation, which is a more sustainable long-term solution.
I want to ask the question. It seems obvious. Okay, we have this book, but what prompted you, Mollie, to write this book? I mean, did you see that there was a need for this type of book? Is your background perhaps, or someone you know in the trades or in construction that sort of lit the flame under you to say, that makes a great idea for a book?
Yes. So I own a marketing company in Center City, Philadelphia, and we work with home builders around the country. So my company is called Group 2, and I'm a second generation business owner. So my dad started the business and I took it over right around the time where social media and digital marketing were really changing communications in general. So I work with about 100 home building companies around the country. And in my experience, I've only worked with a handful of women builders. And one of those women, who also was brought into the industry by her dad, and I have become very good friends. And in our conversations, we really feel we're driven to bring in other girls and expose other women to the industry who maybe don't have a dad or a grandfather in the industry, and they wouldn't necessarily be exposed to it. So I really have been around builders my whole life. It was this friend of mine who approached me and said, I have this idea. I want to build a home with only women in the trades. would you do the marketing for it? Because my company does the marketing. And I said, of course, I would love to do the marketing. So I signed up to do that right away. And we were able to secure national recognition for this project. It was built in Utah, and it was done by all women in the trades and women-owned companies. And in order to make that project happen, they had to fly in women from all over the country because less than 3% of the workforce is women. So in order to do that kind of project, they had to, you can't do that in any singular market because there just aren't enough workers. So they ended up flying in women from all over the country, and over 100 women contributed to this build. And doing the marketing for it, I was preparing a poem for them to read at their grand opening. And I had this aha moment of, oh my goodness, we're going to have this grand opening. This home is going to sell, and we're not going to be able to continue the positive momentum that we've built. And I had this moment of, this has to be a story. We have to turn the poem into a children's story so that we can continue to share this message, because you could see as children were walking through the home, they couldn't believe that everything was done by women. And one of the most moving parts of it is after you walk through the home, which is now sold, in the garage, they had every wall covered with pictures of all the women involved in the build. So you just see all these women. I have chills right now. You see all these women in the trades, and they look just like me, and they're out there and they're hanging drywall and they're tiling and they're working with their hands. And these are not, they're untraditional careers that are great careers, especially now that they're in demand. So to keep that feeling of that garage and having anyone be able to open this book and see someone who looks like them, that was really what we were trying to continue on.
What was your experience in terms of writing books? I mean, have you ever written a book before, or was this whole experience of writing the book, The House That She Built, something totally new and foreign to you? I mean, I don't want to, I don't know, maybe you've written 10 other books before, but, is this something that was sort of a new experience for you? I mean, you've given your marketing background, just like in journalism, we're always writing. I mean, it's you never stop writing. In marketing, you never really stop marketing. So how was the experience writing the book?
Right. So I have never written a book before. I've had articles published in trade publications within the building industry. This was really never meant to be a trade specific book. It was meant to be for anyone and any child. It's been a real learning experience. So I am a business owner. Group 2, we have a team of over 30 people. We work around the country. And let me tell you, I would never in my life have imagined the amount of work that goes into creating a children's book. So I've learned a whole new industry that I've never been in before. But when it comes down to it, real marketing is about storytelling. And that's what we do for our clients. So we help them tell their stories to their customer and their audience. So really, for me, the idea of storytelling is very natural. And I actually had a childhood dream of writing a children's story. So for me, this has been just unbelievably fulfilling because it's not just another children's story. It is attached to a mission that I feel very, very inspired by, and it's very personal. It's an industry that has done so much for me. So for me, this has become really, really big and really important, and I'm happy to help get the message out there.
How long did it take you to actually write the book? I mean, it was born out of this, something related directly to your job. It was born out of that. But once it came to putting fingers to the keyboard, how long did it take to finish the project?
So I actually wrote it before I realized that I wanted to turn it into a book, because I wrote it as the poem for the women to read at their grand opening of this home. So by the time I pitched it to the publisher, I already had a manuscript, because I just wrote it as something that would be read out loud to show all the different women who went into this build. So for me, the actual writing process, it was there. I created it very organically.
Yeah.
It was then, revising it and getting feedback and learning about the distribution and, editing. And then the creative director of my company, her name is Georgia Castellano. She is unbelievably talented. She's the illustrator of the book. So she hand drew every single page and really took her time to show every woman in the book has a different skin color, different body types. We wanted to represent different abilities. We really wanted to thoughtfully make sure that we were representing our dream workforce, which would be where everyone looks different, where you're not surrounded by people who look exactly like you do.
So how has the book been received then? I know the book has just been out for a relatively short period of time, but um, sometimes people will come across the book, whether it's in a bookstore or wherever they may find the book. They may see it advertised online. They decide to buy it, sort of inquisitive as to what this book is all about. So what has been the feedback since the book first hit bookshelves?
So the feedback has been unbelievable. I knew people were going to be excited about this book just because I'm in the industry and I know the need for this message, but it's just been amazing. So we ended up having two major sponsors get involved. That's Anderson Corporation and 84 Lumber. And with their support and then publishing through NAHB, which is the National Association of Home Builders, they have a publishing arm that is Builder Books. So the first print run was 10,000 copies, and that was sold out before the official book launch.
Wow.
So, it is by far the fastest selling book that they've ever had. And we have, these big companies that are putting in orders of 1,000 books. They want to give them as presents. They want to, Weyerhaeuser, for example, they've had some, speaking events, and they're putting a note in the book and giving it out. So, it's something that realtors are excited about, to give everyone in the construction industry who wants to share what they do. It's been unbelievably well received, and we are just about to put our activity book that goes along with it on the website. So there's an activity book that takes each career and has an activity that has to do with some of the skills. So for example, a child may know that they like math. So, we'll show the different careers and which ones use math. So for example, my son, he really has only ever been exposed to one career that he can identify that uses math, and that's his math teacher. So now he'll say, well, I want to be an engineer, because an engineer, he knows now what that entails and how math is a part of that. So it's just making them think about their own skills and taking it a little bit deeper. So not only do the kids love it, the parents are loving it, and then people who are in the industry are loving it. So it's just exceeded every expectation.
It really does play into the whole STEAM curriculum that I think every school today has adopted, whether it's on the elementary level or middle school or high school level. The fact that you're able to incorporate all these skill sets into one area, and for females in an untraditional job environment, it really does sort of meet all the points on the checklist, if you will, Mollie.
Yeah, and that is part of the objective, is to cultivate curiosity, but also create some curriculum. So behind me, well, it's looking like right on my head, is a little birdhouse. Uh-huh. And I am actually taking that into a school in Philly tomorrow. It is a first grade science and innovations class. And we are going to do a hands-on where we go through the characters in the book and talk about the different careers. And I have women in building coming to work with the class to do this hands-on activity and build these individual birdhouses. So in the course of that one activity, we're going to talk about, the architect, and we're going to talk about painting. We're going to talk about all these different things. So you have art, science, engineering, all just in one little birdhouse project. So really taking it and making it connect with those skills.
When you sought to expand on that poem and to write this book, I mean, was there a checklist of jobs that you wanted to include in this book? So, I know if I was to write a book like this, I would want to ensure that I'm not missing a trade or missing a career or missing a position that I need to include in the book. So this way I have all my bases covered. So, I mean, how did you manage to make sure that every job that's out there in the construction industry was being, as many as possible, could be incorporated into the book?
Yeah, so that was an impossible task. So there are so many careers that go into building a home. So knowing our audience, what I tried to do was make it a very clear path. So we start with the architect and the plans, and then we talk about the excavator and clearing the land and the general contractor. So we wanted it to take a path that made sense. There are many careers that, happen at the same time. We tried to keep it, as simple and easy to follow, cover different careers. We want to have the painter and we want to have the engineer, because both paths are good and one requires college and one doesn't. And that's okay, to show two careers that are very important in going into building a home in one story. So the whole idea is that everyone's path is a little bit different. So we wanted to show as many different paths as possible, but we definitely didn't represent every single career. We tried to get the core feeling of all the different skills.
So did you depend on, I guess, contacts in the industry to help you figure out which of those trades you would include in the book? I mean, it would seem to me that you would almost have to rely on them, coming from a marketing standpoint, where marketing inside and out, but Mollie may not necessarily know how to build a house. So you have to identify those people in the construction trades to help you figure out which jobs you need to put into that book.
Yeah, so I am in marketing, but my company works exclusively with home builders. So I'm very, very tapped into the home building industry, but you are right. There were I definitely had many builders look at it. I also, because I was doing the marketing for the actual home, I was following real women who were doing these trades. And some of them just, you see women hanging drywall, and you have to include that. I mean, these women are amazing, and you're seeing real pictures of them doing it. So a lot of the trades, I was seeing the real women who were actually doing them as the project was being built. So that helped. And then I had the women involved in the project actually look at the order that I had it in, as well as the wording for the skills, because it was very important that it reflect the actual project in Utah that was built, because this is really, they really built this home. I'm telling this story of how amazing it was and how inspiring it was. So absolutely, I got a lot of help.
So it would seem then, Mollie, that now that you have this template for the house that she built, might there be book 2 or 3 or 4 down the road? And so from building a house, it might be the skyscraper that she built, or it might be the convention center that she built. I mean, it would just seem to me that there's a logical extension then for this book into being a series of books.
So there has been a lot of interest in the book. City Council here, I have met with at least 3 or 4 different City Council members. They've asked me to come in and talk to City Council just about labor and careers and workforce development in general. And what's funny is one of them actually introduced the book at an event and said something along the lines of, we're building houses, we're building careers, we're building cities, we're building communities. It really can be much larger, because it is all about building a better world, right? Having our children see that there are options for them, and that there are so many different things that come out of the word building, that apply to life. But yes, there are a lot of opportunities. My goal is to maximize this title first and to have the activity book and really do well with it. I have some pretty big goals. I'm someone who sets pretty high goals for myself and the projects that I work on. But once I reach some of those goals, then I definitely would consider doing some different titles.
Might this be? I mean, we talked earlier in the interview about where we could find these books and where these books may wind up. But it would seem logical that your book should be in school libraries. I mean, if a parent can't necessarily afford to purchase the book individually for their children, that this book should be in every school library, because kids go to the library looking for books to sort of learn from, to be transported to. And this would be a perfect addition to any school library, inner city, suburbs, wherever. This book needs to be in the library.
I totally agree with you. We have, because there are so many women, well, there aren't so many women around the country in the trades, but we do have women all over the country who really believe in this book and the mission behind it. So we really have had so many books that were purchased specifically to donate to libraries and share it with them. What's nice about it is everyone who sees it has really gotten the mission and really been excited about it, even to the point where this morning I went to Home Depot to get some supplies, and I was talking to them about the book, and they were like, we need to carry the book. We need to have this at checkout. I mean, everyone who sees it and gets it is excited about it. So I would love to open that up to your audience, to any connections, anyone you want to put me in touch with. I would love to share the story. I would love for it to be in every library, every Home Depot, every out there. I was very excited. Barnes and Noble in Philly is carrying it, as well as you can buy it online at Target, which is a big deal. It's hard to get into that store in particular, but I'm very humble in the way that I will gladly take any help that someone wants to throw my way, because this isn't my industry, and I did go with a trade publisher specifically because it is a mission-based book. So this isn't for profit for me. So all of the proceeds of the book are going back into workforce development programs for the National Association of Home Builders. So it was very important to publish with them, because the money from it is going back into these programs that are national initiatives.
We have just a few minutes left in the program, but I have to ask this question, and not to put you on the spot, but this book and your book, not just this book, but your book, is going to reshape the future of our community, our state, our country, whether you realize it or not, and I'm sure you do, that we're not going to necessarily see a change tomorrow or next week or next month. But years down the road, Mollie, it's going to be Mollie Elkman's book that is going to be the game changer in our country. How does that make you feel?
That's makes my heart feel warm. I mean, I would love to be able to give back in that kind of way. I really believe that this is a sustainable way to change the conversations. And to me, like I said earlier, high school and middle school is a little too late. We have to have these conversations so young. And I have a 4-year-old daughter, and the questions that she asks when we look at this, and I just see her look around and realize there's something behind the walls, and someone put it there and made that. And the reason our toilet flushes is because someone knows how to work the pipes and put those all together. So, thinking about that as like puzzles and creating and working with your hands, you see her eyes just like open up to all those possibilities. And it would be my dream for that to be available to all children.
I want to applaud you and everybody who has worked on this book. It is a wonderful book, and whether you have a daughter or not, or of a little girl, maybe it's a grandchild, maybe it's a relative, you want to get a copy of this book and make sure it gets into their hands, because it really is a game changer. And I think, as I said, we're not going to necessarily see the benefits of this in the next 24 to 48 hours, but the house that she built is definitely going to impact our world as we move forward. And it's so important today, Molly, and I think you hit the nail on the head, is that our kids need to know sooner as opposed to later what it is they want to do, where it is that they're going, and how to get there. And I think your book is a great starting point for yes, females out there in the world, young girls, but also for children in general, because it really does give us a chance to peel back the curtain, if you will, and see what goes on behind the wall and what goes into making a house. You should be applauded for that.
Thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed sharing it with you, and I really appreciate the feedback.
Again, the name of the book is The House That She Built by Mollie Elkman. It is available, as Molly said, at Barnes & Noble and Target, and it's also available online, I suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. So, and everybody's at this time of year scrambling, looking for ideas for what to get for holiday gifts. This is definitely a great gift that you want to make sure that you pick up. The House That She Built by Mollie Elkman. I'm going to thank Molly for being with us. My name is Paul Perillo. Thanks so much for being with us on this edition of the Philly Factor.